Good afternoon. It's a few days to go in the lockdown, and we do hope all you essential services are delivering your service well, which includes coming to this press conference, post-cabinet press conference. I'll hand you over to the Chief Secretary, to the President and Cabinet, Dr. Swanda.
Thank you very much, Secretary Mangwana. Welcome once again to our post-cabinet briefing. Today's decision matrix focuses on the 11th meeting of our cabinet, which is being done within the context of COVID-19 outbreak. So let me hand you over to our chair, Honorable Minister Mtambo.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary and the Permanent Secretary. And once again, I would like to thank you for coming to this 11th meeting decision matrix cabinet. Today, I do have my colleague ministers. There's Honorable Mobira. Obviously, you know the universities, institutes of learning are doing a lot of work during this COVID-19 era, where they are producing a lot of PPEs. And I do have Honorable Mavima. Honorable Mavima is the Minister of Public Service, Labour and Social Welfare, and you know he's doing a lot of work around making sure that people are fed and there's mitigation of the impact of this lockdown. Right behind me, I do have Minister Dr. Nzenza, who is in actually the subcommittee chair of materials production, to just make sure we've got enough medication and all the other things we need during this time. And they will be there to answer your questions. Cabinet did start with the Zimbabwe response to the coronavirus outbreak. The report was given by the Vice President, Honorable Mohati, who is the Chairman of the Interministerial Task Force on COVID-19. Cabinet loaded the level of preparedness in different provinces countrywide, and this was reported to be at an advanced stage despite the general economic challenges which the country is experiencing. Of particular note in the report are the following matters. That's on the report on the Zimbabwe response to coronavirus given by the chairperson of that interministerial task force. One, the mapping of the screening and testing centers, as well as the establishment of isolation centers for severe to critical COVID-19 cases in Zimbabwe. That is actually been advanced. Then they noticed also the setting of a strategy to roll out an extensive testing program for the COVID-19 throughout the country. Then the intensification of personal protective equipment and materials production, as well as recruitment and training of staff. Also the production of information, education and communication materials into 16 official languages, including sign language and Braille. Then the provision of food and water to both urban and rural populace, including instituting measures to ensure that returning residents are properly catered for. Cabinet expressed utmost gratitude to citizens of Zimbabwe, the corporate sector and cooperating partners for the support rendered both in cash and kind towards the fight against this threatening disease, COVID-19. A total of 21 million Zimbabwe dollars, 21,390,000 has been given, and a total of US 47 million, and also in rands we got about 356,100. This has been received to date. While pledges totaling about 1.2 million were met. On its part, the government has disbursed over 591 million to date towards COVID-19. In view of the aforesaid, Cabinet agreed as follows: that the two statutory instruments for be promulgated to regulate and control the import of COVID-19 related materials and all subsidized basic goods. That a wing of Parrenyatwa Hospital be renovated to house COVID-19 cases. and see that the reproduction and distribution of information, education, communication materials in the 16 indigenous languages, inclusive of sign language and Braille, be commenced. And that each province targets to test a specific number of people for COVID-19 per month, with a view to increasing the coverage of this testing. And that a team of experts be constituted to research on issues pertaining to COVID-19 and other health-related matters, and continue to proffer homegrown solutions and advice to government. And finally, that the task force subcommittees ensure that the implementation of the resolutions are done thereof. I thank you sincerely. That is the report for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister and Chair. Now we come to the first session of posing questions to the decisions just announced by the Honorable Chair.
My name is Ishmael Fudipo. I'm a freelance reporter. A couple of days ago, President B.T. Mojave said that testing had been rolled out to the 10 provinces. How far has the country gone in that respect? Also, the High Court made a ruling regarding PPE yesterday. What's the status of that? Because frontline health workers have been complaining that they are ill-equipped to deal with COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, please.
My name is Samuel Shakawira. I'm with 263 Church. I'd like to understand or to know with regards to the recent COVID-19 case that we registered as a country. We don't have details as to where they contact the disease. Is it a local transmission or is it imported? And also the second question goes to we have noted with that there's been an increase in traffic in terms of vehicles and people that roam around the CBD, especially Harare. How does this impact the lockdown?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Jefferson Mandela from ZBC. My question is directed to Honorable Nzenza. My question is with regards, and I understand that she's the chairperson of the task force of materials production towards COVID-19. But my question is on the production of food essentials or basic commodities. I have noticed that many supermarkets that I have surveyed this afternoon, they've got a noticeable difference in terms of their supplies. What is she doing as part of her mandate as the Minister of Industry and Commerce, maybe to have that level of supply that might see the country or the consumers having a certain level that is understandable?
Sorry, I think I need to understand your question. You said you did a survey in supermarkets, and what is that?
Yes, there is some depletion in terms of the stocks of basic commodities. So my question is directly to the Honorable Nzenza, what is the ministry doing maybe to try and look into that area as those level of stocks are depleting?
Yes, please.
Thank you. My name is Zanu-PF, freelance with News of Africa. My question is related to testing. The Arab Minister of Information has said that the task force indicated that they are pleased with the preparedness that is around the countries in terms of testing and isolation facilities. And also, she says Cabinet has directed that testing be conducted in those areas. And my question will be more specific. What is the time frame for this testing, and when are we likely to see them happening? Then the other question is to do with if we were to review the lockdown, we're almost through to it. What gains as a country have we made and what were the targets that we set for ourselves during the lockdown? Thank you.
You. We end the first session.
Yes.
I refer back to Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Mafundikwa. And you said a couple of days, the Vice President, who is the chair of the task force, talked on the testing which has been rolled out to 10 provinces. And yes, that's very correct. We do have testing centers in all the 10 provinces. And testing is already happening in most provinces. I was in Mashonaland West over the weekend, and they've actually tested, they've done 11 tests, they've received about 200 test kits. You are aware that the issue which was delaying a bit was the testing kits, but we have received quite a number now. 3,000 were received, 40,000 are on their way, and the PCR are there. And also we've seen that there is Gene Expert, which normally is used to test TB, and what we are just waiting for are cartridges. And these Gene Expert machines, they're all over the 10 provinces. That will then make, because what we want is mass testing. That will give us a picture of where this disease may be concentrating on, so that we concentrate in terms of resources and everything, and that will give us a better chance of evaluating our lockdown. And that is now there in place, and we are starting, and we actually looking at testing more than 40,000 by the end of this month, 40,000. So we are looking at testing the first category. We prioritize the health workers, for example. They will be actually the top priority in terms of being tested, so that we make sure that those who are actually looking after our sick people themselves also, they are actually taken care of. The issue of no details of whether imported cases. I thought the Ministry of Health is posting a press conference almost every day, and they actually detail in that statement, press statement. My PEMSAC is here, unless you are not getting it, and I think all of you are actually on our list of journalists who receive press statements from whatever press statements have been done. And on that press statement, they actually explain, the Minister of Health, the Minister of Health explains, out of the 9, we knew that we had 5 who had imported cases, and the other 4 were associated with those 5 who had reported. And so we continue, and at this point that's why we had to close our borders. Most of the cases are actually confirmed cases are imported. And those who are not, who directly didn't go outside the country, have associated with those who had been out of the country. So at this point, that's what I thought. If you are not getting to understand, is it Takawira? If you are not getting it, my website will be there, very happy to give you information. That information is coming out every day. And in our brief, also together with the Minister of Health, who I was expecting to hear.
Chair, he just sent it to say he was, just called to say he was started State House, but
Okay.
you will probably miss it.
All right, okay. So if there is any particular information which you would want, we'll be very happy to give it to you. And then coming to issue of increase in traffic in the CBD area, I'm sure you would be able to understand that there are essential services. I don't know if there are any people, because you have seen the enforcement agencies are all over as you get into town. They are making sure that those who get into the CBD area have got some essential work to do. And we continue to applaud those who are staying at home, and we continue to appeal to Zimbabweans to stay at home, because that's the medicine we know for this COVID-19. At this point, no vaccination has been developed as yet. So we are saying we have to stay at home, self-isolation, make sure that we clean our hands, we just don't move around, and we want to continue to appeal to the people of this country to continue staying at home. That's the only way we can actually contain that disease. And those who have to go out, they really have to be essential services. And we know those who are the essential services, they are all carrying their letters, so that enforcement agencies can actually find out who is just roaming for the sake of roaming. And then Dr. Nzenza, This is from ZBC. He says you did a survey in the supermarkets and you're seeing basic commodities stock is depleting. And what is the Ministry of Industry or your committee doing to just make sure that we have got all the basic commodities which the people want during this COVID-19? Thank you, Minister.
I want to thank you very much for that question. One of the key essential services during the lockdown is to ensure that the food supply chain is maintained. I was in Mutare on Saturday and had a tour of 3 supermarkets. And what was really impressive is that all the basic commodities were available. However, we will be very interested to know whether the same production that we saw in Mutare is happening in Harare. We currently have a task force which includes the Consumer Protection Council members together with members of industry and commerce. And they're going from one supermarket to the other to monitor whether these basic commodities are available. And not only that, they're also looking at the prices. So we'll be very interested to look at what you've just pointed out to us and ensure that those basic commodities as essential services are available. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nzenza. And just to say also, in one of the, we say Cabinet actually agreed that there are 2 statutory instruments which are going to be promulgated to regulate and control the importation of all goods, exportation of all subsidized goods, and also importation is free, duty free. So that is to make sure that at least we get food in our supermarkets. Yes. Then there was another question which I think we need to tackle. That was from Afundikwa High Court ruling on PPEs. I know the investors are working very hard to make sure that we do have enough PPEs in our country to make sure our people are well protected. Would you be able to tackle that, Honorable Mogira?
Thank you very much. I think we'll be helped also by Dr. Nzenza on this one. I will partially answer it. The most important thing is that government is fully aware of the need to provide PPEs, and it is the duty of government to do so, and government is doing so. Government is working very hard through the private sector, through the universities, to make sure that personal protective equipment is provided to our people in the front line and to everybody who needs it. So, yes, there was a ruling. We take heed of that ruling, and we are working very hard to make sure that everything is being provided. I know for sure with statistics that the University of Zimbabwe was able to produce about 50,000 theater caps only in 5 days, which basically is just a measure of how hard people are working, and I know that people in the private sector are doing the same. I think Dr. Nzenza can finish off with this one.
Dr. Nzenza, you would like to add more to the issue of PPEs?
Yes, just to add to Professor Muwira, this is a pandemic like no other. And in this crisis, it's all hands on deck. So what we have now is the private sector in collaboration with the universities, ensuring that we increase the production. We're also focusing very much on ensuring that there is prevention, testing, and treatment. And key among our interventions is to ensure that the health workers who are at the front line have absolute priority in getting people protective equipment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe we can have the second round.
Thank you very much. Yes, we now will now second session. Those who want to participate, you are free. Yes, please.
Oh, sorry, Chief Secretary. I think Kolisani, yes. Yes. I spoke to you about the testing that we are actually going on, the mass testing, and the last part was when the president proclaimed the lockdown, he actually said when he addressed the nation that he will, at the end of it, it will be reviewed either upwards or downwards, and that will become, that has not been done. Is it?
Okay, thank you very much. Please go ahead.
My name is Chakungamanda. In other countries, the purpose of the lockdown was to do
Sorry, your
Your name,
Chakungamanda freelance.
Chakundamando.
Yes. In other countries, when they went on lockdown, there was massive testing. And so far in Zimbabwe, the testing is less than 0.05%. What are we going to do in the coming days, considering that almost 4 days, we are almost left with 4 days?
Okay, any? Yes, please.
Okay. My second question is emanating from the last week's cabinet briefing towards the Professor Mavima, whereby it was indicated that government was finalizing the database for the vulnerable community, and disbursements were also in line to be paid. I wanted to ask Professor Mavima that is that been finalized and has the payments been done, as well as to ask the criteria that was used to identify that if on those vulnerable communities.
Thomas Matu, freelance. I want to ask if government is compiling names of or data for people who are Zimbabweans who are either dying or collecting COVID-19 from outside the country, like in UK and other outside countries.
Sorry, I didn't get the answer of the question as well.
The
government is compiling a database of Zimbabweans dying outside the country?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, please. Let's come back with
Thank you, Taku Chambakwe from the Zanu-PF TV. You mentioned that there's work that's happening in Pariniachwa. We went there today, they say in 2 weeks they'll be done, but still we have not yet received the timelines for workings. All we are now seeing are different government officials going there to have tours of the space. So we just wanted to find out when will workings actually come to completion and patients can actually start going there for treatment. Thank you.
well, we'll give a chance to those who did participate. The other two you wanted to repeat out, you did like here and there.
I think it's
Margaret Chanterbury from the ZBC. My question is that we have health workers at district levels, some of which are saying they have not been given training in regards to how they handle people during this COVID-19 time. What measures have been put in place to ensure that the lowest of health workers is equipped to handle patients, those without the COVID-19 pandemic and those who have signs and symptoms?
My name is Stefan Zonforo. I'm a freelance. My question is on PPEs. I went to Bari, Misikade. There was no one with a mask. I went to Vuku Kamono. There was no one with a mask. I went to Ebwith. There was no one with a mask. Is the government considering distributing masks or gloves to the poor? Thank you.
Okay, I was supposed to close, but I will be generous with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we will follow up to the Minister's response. Yes, indeed, the President said the lockdown will be reviewed. But from the task force perspective, what were the targets of the lockdown? And how far have we gone in achieving those targets of the lockdown? Because locking down a country without a target is like telling people to stay at home and not fighting with the COVID disease. Who says most countries are locking down their people, yet they've got no mechanism or no plans at all to tackle the virus on its own? So from the Zimbabwe government perspective, what were the targets of the lockdown. Say we're looking down the country, we want to do A, B, C, D. And how far have we gone? Have we achieved a D or we're still at A?
Chakawira Samuel, to Richard. Honorable Minister, we do acknowledge receiving daily information or with regards to COVID-19. But my question or clarification was on the latest COVID-19 case we registered yesterday. The minister usually gives us how the person contacted or conducts the virus. But this latest case, it was not highlighted whether this person got from, say, case number 1 or case number 2, or say it was an imported or it's a local transmission. So I just want clarity on how these patients, so case 18 got infected.
Over to you, Chair.
Sure. And your name is? The last? Tagawe, 263 Richard. Okay, thank you very much. Takunda Mandura, the freelance. I want to know you also. Thank you. He says in other countries, you say in other countries there is mass testing. There hasn't been mass testing in Zimbabwe. I must say there has been a lot of work which has been done in the country in terms of response to COVID-19. You would appreciate that there's been the task force has been working full throttle. So much that a lot of work has been put into it. Medicine has been imported as we speak, has been paid for, and preparations of bringing it to Zimbabwe have been done. In terms of mapping out all the testing centers, isolation centers, treatment centers in all the 10 provinces. And the task force has been working with the provincial task force. In each province, there's a provincial task force which is headed by the Minister of State, and they've been actually been going down all the way to the grassroots to make sure that every Zimbabwean is aware of this deadly disease. COVID-19, nobody knows what it is. A lot is being learned as we are going. And we continue to learn from those countries. Also, we are not reinventing a wheel. The country, the epicenter, China, Wuhan, for example, we see that now they've actually lifted the lockdown because now they have managed to contain the disease. I'm sure when they put the lockdown in January, they never knew that it would take them up to April to unlock the lockdown. So really, this is we continuously work very hard, and as a government, you've seen already a lot of effort in terms of resources put into it to make sure that we do the mass testing. And as I'm talking in the beginning, with 3,000 testing kits, rapid testing kits, with the PCR which was donated by JACMA, and now we are talking about even making use of the gene expert machines which we have, which are machines which we do have in all the provinces, which will now allow us to test, to do mass testing. And so a lot has been done, a lot of work has been done. Professor Mavima, I think this was from ZBC. They would like to know whether you have finalized database of vulnerable people, and also you would like to understand the criteria which was used, and how far you've gone in terms of distribution.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. There was basically two approaches to identifying the vulnerables under this extended food mitigation program. The first group was the group of SMEs, including your vendors, so small to medium enterprises. And we got a list from the appropriate ministry, which is the Ministry of Women Affairs, Small to Medium Enterprise Development. And it was a list of 129,000. Our target was 1 million people, and we have other databases of those who are marginally food insecure, almost 3.5 million databases. But we have to look at the neediest because we have to prioritize. We have to look at the neediest out of that 3.5 so that we can reach the 1 million for whom we have budgeted $200 million for April. The disbursements are already underway. A lot of it is going to be through EcoPash because our initial database was with EcoPash for the marginally food insecure. But we are also in an agreement with One Man where the additional people are going to be, the money is going to be dispersed through One Man. So essentially, the criterion or the criteria that we use is the criteria that is within social work. But in this particular case, we were also saying let's target our vendors, let's target our small to medium enterprises, and there's a database that exists within the Ministry of Women Affairs, Small to Medium Enterprise Development. I also want the nation to know that under our traditional social welfare system, we had already extended in Blawayo and Dahar, and we were paying currently $180 per household, and we are reviewing, we are doing discussions with Treasury to make sure that we have reviewed this amount, because this amount is now very little in terms of according the food insecure households enough money to buy the essentials. So we are looking at reviewing. So by the end of this month, we will have dispersed to about 1 million people. It's $200 per head. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mabima, for that. Thomas, you wanted to know if government is compiling data of those dying outside the country. First of all, let me say the government is very much concerned about its citizens within the country and outside the country. And so this is why you have seen that we still are receiving our Zimbabwean citizens into the country right now. You know that they arrive at the airport and they are taken straight into quarantine. Some are being put at ZIPAM, and we continue to come up with other isolation places because we want to make sure that before we integrate them with their families and communities, they are also cleared. So we are very much concerned about our Zimbabwean people. And you saw that yesterday, even the Herald, a sad story, we lost a doctor there and a lady who died because of who succumbed to this virus. And this will always come as very sad news. And I'm sure our ministry is keeping in touch with all our ambassadors who are in our foreign embassies to make sure that we have that data. Because wherever our Zimbabwe is, we are very much concerned as a government. Thank you. Then Takucha Ambakwe, I was wondering, you were too quiet today. And very good, thank you. You said you went to Pavilinyatwa and you saw work in progress, and they actually promised that they will be ready in 2 weeks' time to start taking COVID patients. That's a lot of work which is being done there. And then your question was on Wilkins. I'm glad to say Wilkins, a lot of work has been done, and they are just in the final stages. Monies were also disbursed, quite a lot of money. Even the minister, our chairperson of the task force, the VP, Honorable Mohadi, visited Wilkins 3 days ago. And yesterday, our Minister of Finance also visited Wilkins, and everyone is agreeing to the fact that it should be soon. But I just want to say, as we stand right now, Wilkins is actually in a position to take any COVID-19 patients who require that clinical help. And in terms of deadline, we've been told that by the end of this week, certainly it will be fully looking good, state of the art. Thank you. And what is Margaret? the issue of health, when you say workers, we're talking about health workers, right? Okay. Again, from the reports which we received from the members of the task force, ministers who are responsible for these provinces who went there, they actually had an opportunity to meet the provincial medical officer and the district medical officer. So in that task force, they are always part of the group, and they make sure that, and they are working with, in terms of information, we are working with even the village heads to just make sure that every Zimbabwean is aware of the measures put in place by the government to prevent the spread of this COVID-19. So yes, training is ongoing, and there's need to continue to train each and everyone, and the health workers, especially our frontline soldiers. As I always say, I mean, these are our frontline soldiers. The health workers are our frontline soldiers. So you can't really send a soldier to war, to a battle without a gun. So PPEs, training is very critical, so that at least when these patients come, they are not stigmatized, they are taken care of, they are listened to. And us as a Ministry of Information, this is why we've also come up with a call center, which is actually functional now. It will be opened soon, where Zimbabweans throughout the country can actually call for free 2023, and they can ask all their questions arising from anxiety. We are dealing with non-clinical issues. When there's a call of distress, we are in contact with the Ministry of Health, so we'll forward those to the rapid response teams so that our people, wherever they are, you don't need to have money in your phone to call a toll-free line. This is 2023, call it 24 hours in 3 languages, in English, Shona, and Ndebele. So because we want our people to have all the information. And then coming back to PPEs, Tafazo want to know, we went to Mbare, I start with you, Honorable Murwira. We went to Mbare, no one with a mask, airport, no one with a mask. He wants to know, is government considering distributing masks to the poor? And also, you would like the targets of the lockdown. What was the targets? Which you say, okay, these were the targets we set as a government.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will start with the issue of targets of the lockdown. You know, this is a contact disease, so you can measure the success by the level to which people stay at home. So people stay at home, and for a recommended period of 21 days, they are staying at home. And if you reduce the contacts, surely you are reducing the disease. Experimenting with mixing people when you know you have an epidemic can only be disastrous. So on the overall level in percentages to which success has been achieved, we have to wait for that to happen. But you are you can be sure that when you have reduced contacts, you reduce the danger of transmission. And that is the reason why there is a lockdown. On the other issue of PPEs, for sure, as we said, production of PPEs is in progress, and the attempts are to make sure that it's as cheap as possible so that it is affordable. That's why the private sector is working very hard together with the universities and everybody who can work on it by adhering to the protocols and the standards to make sure that all the things are made at the end of the day affordable. I cannot comment on the issue of distributing for free. That is the issue of the Ministry of Labor, and I think Professor can answer whether there are plans for that, but surely the whole issue is to make sure that the target is to reduce transmission and to reduce by reducing the number of contacts that people can make when they are staying at home. I hope I can pass it to Honorable.
Thank you, Professor Mugula. Would you like to add on the issue of distributing free?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The issue of food markets is very important. You will realize that most of the operators at food markets are typically very, very poor people. And sometimes there are farmers that are coming from rural areas. As a subcommittee of the National Task Force, we have come up with recommendations as to how these food markets should operate. We need, within that context, there is the provision of PPEs, and we need now to make sure that we have adequate resources in order to provide these PPEs at the food markets. We are happy with what we see in supermarkets. Typically there is provision of PPEs even to the workers in the supermarkets, and also the screening that takes place. I wish we could actually replicate it, but there is now need to match the resource mobilization with the equipment that we need at our food markets, and government is ready to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Murira, Professor Mavima. To Secretary Takawira, latest COVID-19, you were asking whether why the Minister of Health hasn't given information on the last patient, and that is very technical. I wish the Minister was here, but we'll be able to give you that information. Because the idea, for us, we believe in giving information to be transparent, and so that we carry all our people on board. We are working hard to make sure that we give you all the information as it comes. I'll be very happy after this. My MSEC will be getting in touch with the Minister, and we'll be coming back to you with that information. Thank you.
You can answer straight after, Minister. I can give you the response straight
You
after.
have already?
Yeah, I've got the response on it. So with your leave, of course. Thank you. When test results come, sometimes they come close to midnight. So that's why we're getting the press statement late. And by that time, the profiling of the person will not have been done, because it will only be done when they know that the person is positive. So we take, for example, samples from all of us here. Then we submit. Then, for example, Samuel Takawira comes out net positive. Then only after that they say, oh, so who is this Samuel Takawira? What's the profile? How did they get it? So you're sure that the statement you get today will have the profile of that particular person.
All right. I just want to thank my colleague ministers. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief Secretary, for the
I do a follow-up question,
you.
if you will indulge me, please. You said that
You haven't been allowed. Because we are overstressed.
Minister Mshangwa said that we're targeting 40,000 tests by the month end.
Yes.
Today is the 15th of April. So how many centers are operational now? And what's the target per center for us to get to 40,000?
This needs, I need to go right straight into the because I think that's important. I understand. Okay. All right. I spoke about the gene expert machine, which is normally used for testing TB. And what the government has done is we've procured the cartridges, which will make it possible to test COVID-19. And we do have those machines virtually in all areas. I'll start in Blue, for example. Mupilo Central Hospital has got it. And LTVRL in Blue have it. Thorngrove Hospital has it. UBH has got it. Then here at Tungiza, Central Hospital has got it. Sege South Polyclinic has it. Zegeza has got it. I mean, it's a whole list. In Harare, there will be Nikaland to
test.
As I said, thank you, Mafundelo. Already some of these places they are already tested. So don't make it like testing hasn't started. We are already testing about 1,000 a day. That's what we are intending to do now. 1,000 a day, and we intend to move to even more. And you also know that private laboratories have actually been brought up to also do the testing. So there will be a lot of massive testing going on. And testing has already started. It's just that some other machines, they're just waiting for those cartridges which have been imported.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me also thank you